Hello, and welcome today to the Spontaneous Brilliance Podcast. This episode is inspired by just what I have been noticing, myself pay attention to, what I've been noticing is happening in my immediate world and locally and globally. And I noticed that we are not listening to each other. We're not talking with each other. We're talking at each other. We're not listening to each other unless we're being reinforced or agreed with whatever we're listening to. Then we listen. We are fearing difference, and we're fearing change, and we're fearing things that haven't happened yet, and we're fearing things that maybe won't ever happen, and we're actually even using fear to justify treating each other badly. And we're force-feeding our fears to others, and we are forcing ourselves to listen to the fears of others and treat their opinions as if they're fact. And then we isolate ourselves because we're afraid, and then we gather into little groups to fend off the others that we're afraid of. And we start to feel like the problems in the world and the problems between each of us are insurmountable, and we start to feel and talk like there's nothing we can do about it. And we're complaining about what other people are or aren't doing, and we're not sure what we do. And so if we apply the spontaneous brilliance approach to this, right, we're going to look to the metaphorical, metaphysical guide to life that is spontaneous brilliance. And a lot of times in my work, I am either speaking to a room full of people, or I'm coaching people one-on-one, or coaching people in small groups. And so we're usually applying it to specific circumstances, offering, accepting, and not blocking in specific circumstances, finding the love in specific circumstances. But what I'm saying is that all of the truisms for the metaphorical, metaphysical guide to life here on the great stage of life, all of the things that apply to the all the world's a stage concept, they apply to all of the world. They apply to everything that we encounter, whether it is personal or local or global. It is a process that it works. It just works. If we embrace the notion that all the world's a stage is a microcosm for the world at large, then these things that have seemed so esoteric and unattainable and unattemptable and unsolvable, they suddenly become straightforward and practical. We know what to do. So I would like us not to just think about it and talk about it on a philosophical basis, but to treat these techniques and practices and perspectives as ways to help us not only play our role, but view the story as a whole and view each other in the playing of our roles, and approach this purposefully and intentionally. You've taken this role. I've taken my role. Everybody has taken their role on the great stage of life. We all chose to do this. We chose to do this role in this time, in this place. We are participating in creating the reality that we are each currently engaged in. And it's now time to start doing that consciously, not just consciously when we're working on ourselves individually, when we're sitting in the lotus position and doing our meditation in the morning, and then we go out into the world and then we hear a bad news report and then it all falls away and we just start complaining about people and getting all gloom and doomy or whatever. It always is true. Everything that's true is always true. Okay? And if it's true for any of us, it's true for all of us, or else it isn't true at all, which means that everyone is a unique creative genius. Everyone, not just the people we like, everyone. Everyone has a passion and a purpose. Everyone can be as brilliant as their choices. And we can disagree with their choices, but we can't disagree with what they are in essence. We are all spiritual beings having a human experience. Every single one of us, not just the people that we like and understand. Okay, so let's go to what are the sort of fundamental precepts of the metaphorical metaphysical guide. So all the world's a stage, and the stage is a collaborative art form, first and foremost. So life is a collaborative art form. Every actor has 100% responsibility for their own performance. That means each and every individual human being has 100% responsibility for their own performance of their own character on the great stage of life. Acting is active. It is about what you do, not about what you sit around and feel. It's about what you do. And next, we've got to find the love. Always, we've got to find the love. And life is a 24/7 improvisation. The unexpected is always happening. It's not carved in stone. We can't get too attached to the outcome, right? We have to deal with what is actually in front of us in the present moment. And since life is a 24/7 improv, there are only 3 things that you are ever doing in life as in improvisation. You are either making an offer, accepting an offer, or blocking an offer. And our job in life is to offer, accept, and not block, right? And to yes and every situation. The next thing that is the principle of the metaphorical metaphysical guide is to embrace the obstacles. Every obstacle is an offer. Treat every obstacle as an offer and recognize your sacred friends and allow them to teach you. Okay? Next, it's all about relationship. On the stage, it's all about relationship. In acting as in life, it's all about relationship. The most important relationship is the relationship with yourself. And in all relationships, it's all about making the other player's performance look good. It's all about helping that other performer or the other players in your circumstance be as successful as possible. Okay, so let's take those one at a time. Okay, collaboration. The stage is a collaborative art form. So life is a collaborative art form. And this collaboration in this day and age is not localized. This collaboration is humongous. We are in a global collaboration because part of the challenge that we face in this day and age is that we actually have the ability to hear more voices and to see more things than we ever have in the past. They're not just filtered or funneled through a particular 3 channels like when I was a kid, right? It's everywhere. You can get it everywhere. And anyone with any thought can put it out for worldwide consumption. Okay, so we are having to be our own filter and things come in a barrage. They're not coming in slowly. They're not coming in a selective stream. We are constantly barraged with the things that we can hear and we can see. So let's return to the metaphor. On the stage, when a production is huge and there are so many moving parts, each member of the production has to do their role to the absolute best of their ability for the entire production to come off. If we get off track or we get lazy or we get more interested in what someone else is doing or whether or not someone else is doing good enough, the whole thing comes crumbling down because we trip over our own feet, right? Or we aren't fully present. And so remembering that every actor, every performer, every person here on the great stage of life has 100% responsibility for their own performance. Responsibility, ability to respond. So every circumstance that comes before you, what you do with it is a choice. That means everything, every meme you focus on, every argument you get into, every decision you make about who you decide to be supportive of or critical of or have in your life or not have in your life. All choices. All choices. And so notice what you're noticing, as Mary Morrissey would say. Notice what you're noticing. And notice what you are saying on a habitual basis. What are you viewing? What are you thinking? What are you saying to yourself? What are you saying to others? And if you find yourself in that critical position all the time, shift that perspective. Shift that perspective. We'll talk about it in a little bit more in a minute when we get to some of the other principles. But I was thinking just a second ago about when we get caught up in watching somebody else's performance, when we get caught up in what is flashy and we get distracted from our purpose in the performance or in the production, the catastrophe that we can cause. Once upon a time, I was a spotlight operator in a large stadium, and there was a Journey concert in the stadium. And this was my job, to be a spotlight operator. And in that Journey tour, this was a long time ago, like 40 years ago, it was 40 years ago. Wow. Okay. My job was to be the spotlight on Neil Schon, guitar player in Journey. And it was a brand new thing back then to have these big video screens up playing the MTV videos behind the band. That was a fairly new concept, right? Now production values are so humongous, but then this was a big freaking deal, this gigantic screen playing the videos that we all knew and loved, right? Along with them as they're playing it live. And they would cut back and forth. The camera people down in front of the stage would have all these live cameras shooting the guys on stage at the same time. And so they would cut back and forth from the video to the live feed to the video to the live feed. And one of the things that the guy calling the lights told us to do was to keep our eye on where our light was supposed to be and not look at the screen. That if we looked at the screen, we were going to screw it up. So I knew I was not going to screw it up. Like, I took my job extremely seriously, right? But then this video came on of a song I really loved. And I got real caught up in watching that video. And then there was a point where they went to the guitar solo and they cut to Neil Schon. And my brain literally went, gosh, he's awfully dark. And I looked down at the stage and my spotlight circle was all by itself in a different place on the stage floor than where he was. Because I had not followed him, I got busy watching the screen. Oh my gosh, when I was getting screamed at through the headphones, I knew I had done a no-no, but I had, in my own little way, affected the experience of not only the guys on the stage, not only the stage manager, who was nearly apoplectic screaming at me through the headphones, not only myself, but everyone in the audience. Everyone in the audience, right? And it had an effect that lasted for some people a split second. It didn't last for anybody a split second because he was in the dark for several seconds, but regardless. But it lasted briefly for some. But it had a remaining impact forever. I mean, you can bet that the next set of spotlight ops that heard that lecture through their headphones got a much more intensive lecture. And you can bet that it affected the way that Neil did the rest of the show. And you can bet that for somebody in the audience, it disrupted their engagement. So we don't know what is happening based on when we get distracted or we get caught up in something that just catches our attention and we roll with it. And we don't end up doing what is ours to do. Okay, so that's the next thing. What is ours to do? Because remember, acting is active. It's about what you do. When you see that news report or you have a conversation with friends that is completely contradictory to the way that you feel things ought to be approached, or you find yourself complaining about the government or something happening across the planet or something about the environment, or anything, okay? When you find yourself complaining, remember that if it doesn't mean enough for you to walk across the stage on the great stage of life, in other words, if it doesn't mean enough for you to walk out your front door, stop focusing on it. Stop focusing on it and focus on what it is that is yours to do. Don't sit on the couch eating Cheetos, complaining about what you see on the television set. That is not the life you came here to play. So if what is on the television, on the news, on the radio, in this conversation that you're participating in the mental tape that's playing in your head, if that is not what is yours to do, then switch the frequency. Change the channel or switch the frequency in your head. Find a different vibrational frequency, literally. Turn the radio, Don't sit on AM radio and complain that it's not playing FM or that you never hear your favorite song when it's a talk radio channel. You can't opt out and just, well, you can. Please don't opt out and just make your life about talking about the lives that other people are actively living. Acting is active. And it's all about you. Your story is about you and what you are doing to move your story forward. And if it's more about other people than about you, everything you're saying is more about other people than about what you truly feel and think, then ask yourself, is this actually mine? Right? Gandhi said, if we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. This is the divine mystery supreme. A wonderful thing it is, and the source of our happiness. We need not wait to see what others do. That's Mahatma Gandhi. So let's not wait to see what others do. Let's ask when we are engaged with a feeling or something that is calling us, something that we want to see be different in the world, something that we want to have change or be more or be less or whatever. Then we have to ask, remember? Ask, is this mine? What is this bringing to me? And if the answer is yes to is this mine, then the next question, remember we've talked about this before, is then what is the most loving thing I can do for myself right now? And if the answer to is this mine is no, then the next question is, then what's the most loving thing I can do for myself right now? Because I guarantee sitting around being miserable about what isn't ours to do, to be, do, or share, it isn't part of our unique creative genius. It isn't part of the passion and the purpose that we came here to live on this planet. If it's not ours to do, then what is the most loving thing that I can do right now? And remember, like we talked about in a recent podcast, trust the text within. This is your story. Don't just live somebody else's story. Don't just focus on other people's story that they are wanting to tell. What is your story? What is the truth that you are creating? What is it that you came here to be, do, and share? Where is the love? Right? Because that's the next thing. Always, we have got to find the love. And that is true on a global scale. That's what I'm talking about. We have got to find the love on a global scale. We have got to come together as human beings. Compassion is finding the love on steroids, right? In every situation, find the love. In every idea, find the love. In every thought and circumstance, find the love. In every person, find the love. Even if you don't agree with them, when you identify, when you find the love, even if you don't agree with them, it helps you to understand them. And when you combine love and understanding, you get compassion. Compassion is finding the love. And when you look at yourself, find what you love, and then you'll know what you want. Abraham Hicks says, you find what you don't want, then you can find what you do want. You know what you don't want, then you know what you do want, right? So if we know what we don't want in our lives, globally, politically, philosophically, practically, whatever, okay? When we identify what we don't want, then we know what we do want, but it does not stop there. You have to take active action steps to move in the direction of what you do want. Want, desire, is that inner niggling pointing you toward your passion, toward your purpose, not toward your critique of someone else's. Find what is yours to do and then do it. And when we are trying to find the love, we're talking about, on a global scale, that feeling of absolute, pervasive, peaceful love. And in order to have it for someone else, we have to have it for ourselves. We have to be willing to show ourselves authentically to the people around us. We have to be willing to share love, to share the love that is in us and share other people's love. We have to be vulnerable enough, open enough to be authentic, to have community, to give trust and be able to have trust. That comes with vulnerability. We have to start by believing that every human being is playing their role. Every human being is a spiritual being having a human experience. That is what they are. There is love at the core of them. Now, they may be pursuing it in a way that does not resonate with you at all. They may be practicing self-destructive practices. They may not realize who and what they truly are. So what is yours to do about that? In some cases, it's going to be absolutely nothing is yours to specifically do about it. In some cases, it's going to be a lot. Then you have to get busy and figure out how you're going to do that. What actions are you going to play? What active steps are you going to take? You have to be willing to offer. Life is a 24/7 improvisation, right? So the unexpected is going to happen. And if we get attached to the outcome, if we get attached to it having to be the way that we think it ought to turn out, then we stop dealing with what's right in front of us right now. We stop being in the present moment. In order to be in the present moment, we have to be mindful of our responsibility to offer into every situation, to accept the offers coming to us, and to not block. So we have to be willing to yes and every situation. To yes and every situation. So even when something is contradictory to what we believe, what our values are, we have to first say yes. Okay? And by saying yes, we are saying, I acknowledge that. Accepting is not condoning. It's not agreeing. It's acknowledging that and dealing with it. You make an offer back. Okay? And that's how we participate in a compassionate exchange. We say, I hear you. I see you. And, right? Yes, I hear you. I see you. And the and is your offer. The and is your responsibility. The and is your opportunity to actively participate. And even when you are participating with someone who fundamentally offends you, right? On a very deep, basic level, whoever that might be, it doesn't matter what your perspective is. Whatever that person is, that their behavior is so egregious and so contradictory to what you can understand as, positive values that you can buy into, then that person is necessarily your sacred friend. I was just working with an actor client of mine yesterday, and she was really frustrated by an actor that she was working with in a class that was not willing to rehearse, was not giving her anything, was not even looking at her on stage, right? Was just not there for her. And this person was frustrating the heck out of her. And my response to her was, okay, this is an opportunity. And she went, oh, wow, she is my super sacred friend, huh? I was like, yeah, you got it. Wow, you said it before I even said it. Because it's not that I'm condoning the behavior of the other person, quite the opposite. But it's that quite unto herself, she could take the responsibility, right? My client, my student could take the responsibility to say, okay, I'm going to be dealing with difficult acting partners my whole life as a professional actor. So how am I going to show up fully and completely, doing my best work, playing my character as authentically and truthfully as I can, regardless of my assessment of my acting partner's input? So regardless of how you assess the other people in your story and their effectiveness or how well they're playing their role, your responsibility is to play your role 100%. Don't use someone else's lack of integrity in playing their role, or aggressiveness in playing their role, or inexperience in playing their role, or lack of listening when they're playing their role, or lack of collaboration when they're playing their role, or ill intent when they're playing their role. Don't use that as an excuse to not do you, right? To not be the best you can be. The only thing that you are hurting is your story. Now, your story has a lot of other people in it, but the thing that you are affecting is your story. Yes, and every circumstance. Yes, this is what I'm getting from them. Yes, this is what they're giving to me. And I am going to offer this, because we know that not only is life a 24/7 improv, and we are offering, accepting, and working not to block in every situation, but we are also embracing the obstacles, right? That's the next step. So if we are embracing every obstacle, that means that obstacles are what makes us stronger, right? If we didn't have these things going on in the world, we wouldn't be able to discover what we are passionate about, what we are willing to walk out the front door and do something about. That is where our passion is lying in that moment. So if it's helping children or helping animals or getting involved in some social or political situation, or it's going out and picking up the garbage on the street, or it's writing a new song, or it's teaching a class, or it's whatever it is that you are inspired to do, as you look around openly at the obstacles before you, at the challenges, at the conflict, because remember, all stories are richer for the conflict. We don't, any of us, watch a movie that has zero conflict, right? We are here to play a role in this environment that is rife with conflicts. So we chose this, so it's our job to get busy embracing the obstacles and recognizing that that is what is ours to do. That's where the miracles are going to show up in our life, as we face the obstacles, as we face the challenges, as we embrace the obstacles, as we embrace our sacred friends, those that are opposite us, that are human beings that are appearing as sacred friends. Now, I'm going to say something about sacred friends, because we're talking about this finding the love on a global scale, right? We're talking about applying the principles of spontaneous brilliance beyond our own interpersonal relationships in our local life. So your sacred friend includes those people on a global scale. It includes people that are impacting your life in some way, crowds of people or people in leadership positions that you may never meet face to face in your entire life. But they are impacting, they are part of your story. And once you include them actively in your story, then treat them as a sacred friend. What are they there to teach you? What are they there to show you? What are they there to help you see? And it's not ever just as simple as, yeah, they're here to teach me what I don't want to be like. That's not it. That's never it, because that's so surface. It's not acknowledging, it's not finding the love, right? It's not finding the thing that lets you have some compassion for some aspect of what's going on, because compassion and understanding go hand in hand. And if you've got some understanding, then you can start to wrap your head around what you can learn from this. And in doing that, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be willing to look at, okay, is this mine? If it's not yours, that's okay. Remember, always stop and ask yourself, especially when you're frustrated, is this mine? And if the answer is no, then sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to stop engaging. Stop just being frustrated like it's a form of entertainment. Stop watching news stories that just bring you pain, that you are not willing to get off your couch and put away the Cheetos and do something about, but you certainly do ruin your attitude, ruin the end of your day, ruin the conversation that you're having with family and friends because you're fighting about something that none of you is willing to leave your house and do anything about. So if you are passionate about it, that's different than being frustrated and angry. So if you're frustrated and angry, do you want to move it to passion that creates activity for you, that causes you to step out and step forward? Or do you want to let it go? And letting it go doesn't mean, okay, it's okay with me if they do terrible things to other people. It's okay with me if they take over the world. And that doesn't mean that. But it means this is my corner of what to do. I can't change that, but I can change this. Because at the end of the day, folks, the reason that the metaphorical metaphysical guide makes sense is because this experience is, and I'll say it again, spiritual beings having a physical experience. This is about these energetic beings that are us and what we are here experiencing on this planet. So if we are faced with something that does not resonate with us, that does not match vibrationally what we want our life to be like, or what we want the global space to be like, shift your vibration. It starts within. It is always, at the end of the day, it is about what you do to shift your energy. Do you need to forgive? Do you need to move into gratitude? Do you need to move toward love? What do you need to do? Remember the Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono is that ancient prayer that pono means balance. And Ho'oponopono roughly means bringing life back into balance or setting things to right. So remember that when the ego thinks it's flying the plane, that we talked about that in an earlier episode, if I just confused you by mixing several metaphors, but roll with me here. If the ego thinks it's flying the plane, then our relationship between our two selves is out of balance. So it's simple, not necessarily easy. It is simple to shift our energy back into balance. And Ho'oponopono is one of those powerful tools for doing that. for refocusing the energy, for clearing out thought habits. Ho'oponopono is not necessarily about who you're praying for. If you're praying for someone else, it's about clearing the energy of the person praying. It's about cleansing the energy of the person saying the 4 phrases. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Now, if you've got a bee in your bonnet about anybody that is halfway across the globe or across the country or in a position of power or writing something that you disagree with, anybody that is doing something that you don't agree with, that you feel powerless to shift. You feel powerless to shift that paradigm. I'm going to ask you, have you ever ho'oponoponoed for them, for the situation, for you, for the way you feel about it, for anything? Try that. Ho'oponopono, as I say to my kids, ho'oponopono your ass off. You just focus on the ho'oponopono. You don't even need to know exactly what you're wanting to have happen. It has its own thing. It has its own ability to cleanse and shift the energy. And it really is simple. It lets anxiety and fear and anger and resentment all just shift out of place. As Gandhi also said, be the change you want to see in the world. So remember that you have 100% responsibility for your performance on the great stage of life. And the most important relationship, since everything on the stage is about relationships, the most important relationship is your relationship with yourself. And in terms of the other players on the great stage of life, your responsibility to them is to help their performance be as successful as possible. And so one thing that you know that you can always do is approach yourself and all others with love, with gratitude, with forgiveness, and with a deep willingness to move to compassion, accepting them, and offer them and yourself the prayer, the ho'oponopono, if nothing else. So I want to close out here by reading you a Facebook post that I found that I posted in 2017, for heaven's sake. But because, Facebook will roll things back up into your feed, I saw this the other day and I went, wow, okay. I wrote this in 2017 and I feel like I could have written it yesterday. So I'm going to read this to you. Sending everyone peace, love, and light. May we all heal. May we all seek to be in integrity with our own beliefs and values, especially in the way we treat those whom we disagree with. May we all recognize that we are responsible for bringing our best thought, word, and deed to every situation. May we all know in our heart that we don't win when another loses. Our success is never found in another person's failure. Our rise is never blessed by another person's fall. Our frustration may be justified, but revenge never is. And just what exactly is justification for? To make our ego feel better? We are one people. We are one humanity. Our hearts and our heads are weary, but we are made in the image and the likeness of that which is pure love. We are pure spirit expressing. May we remember that. May we also remember that nothing happens to us. It all happens for us. May we take that to heart, step back, and recognize that all of this is an opportunity for us to do the work, to grow, to be better, to be more, so much more. So let us recognize and realize how we got here and take responsibility for our role in each step along the way. To survive and thrive, we must be courageous enough to be compassionate and strong enough to be kind. Peace and blessings. And that's where I'm going to leave us today. Thank you for being here, my friends. I will talk to you again soon. The Spontaneous Brilliance Podcast is brought to you by Miracle Communications Group. Our producer is Michelle Oneida. Sound engineer is Cory Mikhals at Cory Mikhals Productions. Music is composed by Rex Miller. And I'm your host, Sandra Cavanaugh. You can learn more about me and all things Spontaneous Brilliance at sandracavanaugh.com or spontaneousbrilliance.com. And please join the conversation here at the Spontaneous Brilliance Podcast by emailing us at podcast@spontaneousbrilliance.com. And have a beautiful, glorious, blessing-filled day.